coming up with a little bit of content that expresses you. But before we get into that, part of self-efficacy is making sure you have some skills, some knowledge to help you through this journey. And to do that, we're going to have a little content education section. And we're going to introduce two very special people. So the first person that I'd like to introduce, she is a former radio host, a podcaster, and a content creator. Can we please welcome Maggy Wang? Your chair of choice. Okay, fantastic. And one is great, but we have two today. We have your favorite teacher and a content creator as well. Can we welcome Shi Qi to the stage? Alright. So I guess we've got the middle chair for you. Okay, and I'll nicely put myself up here like some Pinocchio. Okay, so for this session, before we begin, we just want to, the mics are too close. Okay.
Where is it?
Yeah, so I'll just stand here a little bit. So we want to begin by, of course, getting to, obviously, but to get to know their story a little bit better. Could you tell us, how did you even begin getting in this very strange occupation, creating content?
I think for me, I stumbled upon it, so I created one video about me going back to Kuching. Because I'm from Kuching, but I was living in KL after MCO, so the borders open. And I created one video of me going back. It was like a transition video, and then it went viral, 100K views in like overnight. And I didn't know because my TikTok notifications were off. And next day I was like, oh my god, I'm famous! And I was like freaking out, And so then I started to make content more consistently, trying out different things, and I finally landed on making content with my students. That's how I started.
Well, mine is very different. I love that. I wish I could experience that. But I feel like I started when Instagram wasn't even a thing. Okay, I'm not that old, but I'm not a Gen Z. Okay, I'm a millennial. So it was the start of social media. So it was a very natural progression for me. In fact, I've never even thought about being a content creator. Like, what is that, right? I wanted to be a host. I wanted to be a TV host at the time. And but I also stumbled upon radio. So I got into radio, and that was also when social media started becoming a thing. And my bosses in radio started giving me KPIs to hit. At the time, I had like 2,000 followers. Like, I just told my friends, like, who cares? What's Instagram, right? Just square photos. So they started giving us KPI. Okay, by the end of the year, you need at least 10K followers. I'm like, how do I do that? Like, what? So I think my start was very different compared to the current generations of creators, and even different from you guys, because you guys are so familiar with the tools and everything, right? I feel like I wish I had that because I didn't know it's here to stay. But yeah, my progression was very natural. As I was becoming a radio announcer, I started realizing the value in creating content, like the value I can bring to my clients is no longer just my voice, but so many more things that I can do on this platform that didn't quite exist when I first started out in radio, if that makes sense.
Right. I think we have very an exciting contrast of going from, I posted something, I turned off my phone and woke up, as well as, getting KPIs and
Forced to do it. What? Okay. But I also have to say, guys, right now I've heard someone say anxiety earlier, and my heart just started beating out of my chest because I'm actually really anxious. I know I'm used to being on stage, I was telling Shi Qi, but having to talk about myself is not something that I'm too comfortable doing. So this is really stepping out of my comfort zone. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We literally have a teacher here to tell us what to and what not to do. So, speaking of having both of you here, I think it's really wonderful because we are literally seeing people who are so public spend this little space with us to be so authentic and sincere. So speaking of that, we talked a lot earlier today about being authentic and what that feels like to share yourself out there. So I'm wondering for yourselves, what does authenticity mean to you personally? Sure, and one other thing is also what we've done is also we put a little bit of their content here.
Oh.
So I'm gonna just, so I'm just gonna put some of this here. So these are the introductions,
Oh my God, that face.
Yeah, so it's a little bit here, so you got some prompts if you want to refer to some of your work. Like,
Yeah.
talk to us about that authenticity.
Okay, I think before even showing you guys anything, I feel like today, in today's context, the word authentic is being thrown out a lot. So what exactly does it really even mean, right? I guess for me, it means speaking from your heart is the hard work, not hard work, but like the hard work. Like putting out things that is true to you, even though it may not be true to someone else. Like being confident enough to say something, even though it may not be something that everyone agrees with, but it is true to you. So to me, that is authenticity, because today there's a lot of this new term that I learned, performative authenticity, where you say things just so that people will agree with you, like you are performing this authenticity. And you know, it works for a while, it will get you the eyeball, but is it sustainable? Because at the end of the day, if you're in it for the long run, you need to be able to find something that's sustainable for your heart. You don't want to lose heart as you go along this journey, because it can be very brutal. I think you experienced some backlash, right? Or like, imagine if you can't stay true to what you believe in and stand on your own ground, you collapse very easily, and you will let fame and all these things take over, and that's really not what you want. So for me, authenticity is, okay, if without this fame, without the numbers, without the money, will I still do what I do? The answer is yes, I will. So yeah, that's what authenticity is to me.
Yeah, I definitely think Maggie is one of the most authentic content creators I know on the platform. And I think it's just about being very real and being yourself. I think that social media can often be very curated, very like beautiful on the outside. And like, of course, we all love to post like pretty pictures and like the best parts of our lives. But being authentic is also sometimes sharing things that are not so glamorous, or even just being real in your thoughts and being true to who you are. I think if you know who you are, you know your identity, then you can just like step into being authentic very naturally. It's not like you purposely try to be authentic, it's just you. And once you take away all the barriers of like fear of judgment or fear of people saying certain things about you, then you're able to be yourself offline and online.
Right. I think it's very beautiful to hear. Of course, a couple of things is making sure that we're consistent with ourselves.
Yeah.
That we're clear what we value, we will do it anyway.
Because I feel like in this realm of social media, influencers / content creator, or whatever you want to call it these days, right? There are many different types of content creators. A lot of times, you don't need to be authentic. You just need to be fashionable, for instance. You just need to look good, for instance. You just need to be really talented at what you're good at. Like, for instance, you are an artist. Do you need to truly be authentic about the words that you say? Not particularly. So I think before you even maybe label yourself as authentic, do I need to be authentic in my content? Yes, but what is your content about? I think that's where I think you should start with. I'm assuming everyone here are aspiring content creators. That's why you're here today. I think that's what I'm trying to say, because I follow all kinds of creators online these days, and I do think that just because they don't share pieces of their hearts does not mean that they're not authentic. Maybe they just choose to keep this part to themselves. And just because I choose to share doesn't mean that I'm not authentic either, or I'm like making stories up just to get people's eyeballs, you know what I mean? It's different for everyone, so I think authenticity can really, really look so different on the spectrum. Yeah, it's not just about my kind of content or Shi's kind of content. It's quite vague. I understand it's quite hard to pinpoint one thing.
Right. I think that's really cool too, because then the idea is authenticity comes through from what we say, but maybe it can also speak to other kinds of content. The willingness to put out their heart there. I think that also says a little bit about a form of authenticity, to being true to what heart matters to you. What do we want to share? So I think it's very nice to hear such a broad perspective of things. Shi, anything you'd like to add on about authenticity?
Just be yourself. Very cliche. Yeah, I think for me, the hardest part is like overcoming judgment of people. Like if I'm not acting a certain way that I think is socially acceptable, will they judge me, or will they leave me hate comments? Because it's very real. Let me just tell you, me and Maggie, we have a fair share of like hate comments, which is very normal and something that you should expect if you want to be a content creator. And so if you are not firm in your identity, then that can weigh you and make you choose to not be authentic and choose to, you choose to be
surface about things.
Yeah, you just like mold yourself into whoever they tell you to be. So I think it's so important to know who you are.
And it's so easy to do that, by the way. Like, it's so easy to let these words get to you. I think I let them get to me all the time. Still get to me sometimes. So you need to be like you said, unwavering in what you believe in. I know it sounds so like easier said than done, but maybe we can talk about it deeper later on as we go along this session together. Yeah.
Right. And of course, we started that process of knowing ourselves. We talked today a little bit in the morning about how anxiousness is what we feel, but it tells us a lot of what's going on inside. So we started that process today. Maggie and Qi, we have this little content, so we put this together here, right? So the title is Our Most Authentic Content, so we got you to share this with us. I'm wondering if you could, both of you could break it down for us. What's happening here? What was the thought process?
You look so comfy.
It's a good picture.
I think it's very different though, these two content.
Yeah.
Under the same category, but maybe Sushi can go first.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me just play. Let's
Is
see
it a
which
video?
one starts first.
It's just a picture.
Ah,
Yeah,
right.
it's just a carousel.
Oh, wow,
So
look at
like
that
Qiwiie.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
And my boyfriend. Anyways, the pictures are irrelevant to the caption. Let me just say. Okay, so content creator friends, sometimes you just do that. That's not an authentic picture. Anyway, okay, I guess this last picture is a good slide to stop on. So I posted this after I went through the controversy of all the news articles about me and the incident with the gummy bears. I'm sure you've seen it. It's quite, I think a lot of fear, because a lot of people attacked who I was. And usually why it's personal is because they accuse your character and not your action. And that's the thing with being online. People think they know you, and they think that, they make an assumption about you based on like 30 seconds of what they saw about me, and then they base that and judge my character. So I was very, very hurt. I was very scared, mostly, because I felt like whatever I say might be taken the wrong way, because that was what happened at first. I felt like, it was misunderstood. So yeah, I really thought very long before I went back online. I rewrote the caption like 20 million times. I read over it, make sure I didn't say anything wrong. But I think it was just really my heart and how I was feeling, and I'm so grateful that I have a community of followers who were very encouraging and supportive of me. Even if I did something wrong, they were ready to forgive. So I think also when you are authentic, people can see that, and then they're more gracious with you, I think, rather than if you put up a wall and you try to everything's okay. Yeah.
Just curious, what do you think it is about being authentic that allows people to be more gracious with us?
I think it's in fact, if I'm vulnerable with Maggie, then she's vulnerable with me. It's like you started first. It's like you love the people who love you, and you're open with the people who are open to you. It just when you start it, then people reciprocate very easily.
And you also attract the kind of audience you want. You don't want audiences that don't resonate with you and don't actually understand what you're trying to convey. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be a content creator, you also need to build your very own community. I think that's very, very important. Yes, you are in some ways serving your community, giving them the content that they want to receive, because that's your job as a content creator. But don't stray away from your values. So if I could share my content, do we play it first? We got so embarrassing. During this time, sorry, that's when I lost my grandma, and I was on a solo trip all by myself. I think watching it on a bigger screen feels more. I watch it all the time on my phone. So yeah, I guess that was what I presented, some sort of authenticity, I guess. I was just recording myself. This was a solo trip that I took on in a very difficult time of my life, and at the same time, when I was there, away from my family, was when I got the news that my grandma left us. So yeah, it was very hard. But this happened later. So during the trip, I was really immersing myself in the trip. Like I've never ever been on a solo trip in my life. So that was my first time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing so much joy and excitement, but so much despair at the same time. So it's such a paradox, so ironic that I can be so happy and so devastated at the same time. So this was what inspired this piece of content. Then this song was a song that was on repeat throughout my trip, and when after I found out my grandma was no longer with us, and I was crying on my own, but at the same time I also felt this sense of peace, like, you know what, I can do this. It's okay. Like that's what inspired. Oh, thank you. No one has. I appreciate it. Such a crybaby. Oh gosh. But yeah, that piece of content was what I said. That's why the title was. Let's get technical about it so I don't cry. So title is very important. When you do a content, as much as it's authentic, you need to be able to project and deliver your message. It could, if I take away all of this text with just the montages, with the music, it will not be as impactful as compared to with the text itself. And the way I edited the text was per footage per text. Makes sense? Like per footage was, it has its own caption and it builds up one by one to the very end. I am all I need. So, and at the end of the day, it tells a story without me saying anything. It's through my words, through my heart. And that is something I think anyone can do. Everyone has their own stories. This was my story, and if you were to go on your own solo trip, it may not look the same, but something else. You know, you may meet friends there, and you find that, hey, going on a solo trip may not feel that lonely after all, because you will meet friends that will turn out to be your lifelong friends. That could be your narrative. But my narrative in this particular piece of content was what I learned and realized through the ups and downs in this 2 weeks of my solo trip. That was also the first one ever in my life. So yeah, that's my piece of content. Sorry about the tears. It exploded.
I think I'm proud of us all here for being able to hold space for one another, because what we feel tells us something about what's important to us.
I think you said something really valid. People can tell if you're real or not. Like, you guys can tell, the content creators that you follow. This one, just an ad. They're just following brief. There's no heart to it. So for me, I think my DNA, what I've learned throughout the years of stumbling upon this occupation, if I want to do this, I want to do this right, and I want to do this my way. I don't want to ever regret the work that I put out. If anything, I want to learn from it. So yeah, and I'm not doing it for the numbers, but of course numbers are great, but I don't want to chase it, if that makes sense. If it comes to me, it's very motivating, but I don't want it to define me, is what I'm trying to say. Of course we need numbers, right? Having 7K followers compared to 7K, big difference. It changes your life. Yeah, don't deny that. But to get there, don't ever lose yourself while chasing it.
Thanks, Maggie, for sharing all those things and the perspective for this. Shi Qi, would you like to tell us a bit more about the process that you went through when you were coming up with that video?
I think this one I didn't really think through, to be very honest. I just pick any pictures that I have. But I think I can share more about my video process. Maybe the next slide I have a video that we can talk about. Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, we can watch it.
I look so different.
You look gorgeous.
I like it's still so white.
I mean, this is just the color of my skin.
I in the class all day. After that now,
What? What's wrong? You look good.
I had to stay inside the house all day, every single day, just to become white.
Why do you want to be white?
I don't know.
You think you're pretty?
Yeah,
What is your favorite feature on your face?
my face.
Just your whole face?
Yeah.
If you have anything to say to people who don't think that you're beautiful,
If you think you're not beautiful, just crop yourself out of the picture.
but they don't look beautiful in the picture, they think
Ah,
that
okay,
you're wrong.
okay.
What would you say to them?
Look yourself.
Queen.
You just say.
Now you say it. Love yourself, Betsy.
Now, I don't laugh so loud.
Why?
the last time I laughed, it was like I was screaming.
So you change your laugh. I like it when you laugh loud. It's more funny. It's like more natural. Are you containing
Is
your
it
laugh?
natural
Yeah.
to scream when laughing?
I mean, if you're happy, why not?
Yeah, so this, I guess, is a very candid conversation. A lot of my content are candid conversations with my students, mostly my students, and sometimes with my family. And we were just happened to talk about something that was very interesting, and I think things that we don't say in front of the camera, maybe it's a bit sensitive, right? Talking about skin color, loving the skin that you're in. So my thought process is really just like, I try to capture most of my conversations, and then after that I will cut and see, right, what makes good content, and whatever is more valuable, whatever is like funny. A lot of my content is funny, is entertaining, just silly things I do with my class. I will say the thought process is just, I guess I am pretty strategic also. So it's like part one is like being authentic. I just film whatever I talk about in class. That's one. That's being authentic. And then to be a successful content creator, I think you also need some strategies. And you hear the very common things like being consistent. I'm sure you've heard of it. Consistency and finding a niche. Niche should be like something that you focus on, right? So let's say I focus on teaching. Maggie's like, about her life, like being very authentic, travel, and all those kind of things. There are other people who are focusing on fashion, focusing on comedy. And so once you find your niche, people tell you to be consistent. But if you're consistently putting up things that people don't want to watch, it might not like make you grow as a content creator. I'm just telling you like very honestly, right? So my strategy is having a good hook. In this video, there's no words hook. Usually I put up like what Maggie said before, like use words on top. Your first like 5 seconds, I always put a very engaging hook that tells you what the video is going to be about. In this video, I didn't really have to put a hook because sometimes you can use audio hook. So my voice is an audio hook, something I said. It can be a visual hook. Sometimes you watch videos where like you're just staring at the video like, what is that, right? And then you hook and then you watch the whole video. That's maybe something really silly. But yeah, getting a hook and making sure that your content, number one, is interesting. One other tip I do is I cut out all the those things so that it's very straight to the point. It's one thing I learned from Ryan Higa, and if you watch his stuff, he's so fast, right? I don't know if you watched his content before, but it's really, really fast. And that's because he cuts every millisecond of whatever can divert your attention. To be very honest, when you're scrolling on your phone, like, you scroll like this. So you watch my content for 2 seconds, you don't like you scroll already, right? So how can you make sure that in the first 2 to 5 seconds you can capture the attention of the audience to continue watching your content? Yeah, that's one of the biggest strategies that I use.
Right. So, Shachi, if I can just like lay the process, so what that means you capture the content. It's of course something that's authentic, something that's meaningful to you. You look out for the value in it, and then the strategy comes in. How am I going to make sure the hook is clear and available, and it's concise enough to attract attention, like getting the gist.
Right, correct.
Okay. Thanks for breaking us down for us. You literally told me like, okay, first let's start with this. I appreciate that. And Maggie, do you want me to?
Before you play, I think I love what you said. But also, if you guys notice, right, my content and Shichi's content is so different, isn't it? So different. So what works, what doesn't work? There's no right answer. We don't know the formula. We're trying to figure out the algorithm. With the rise of TikTok, I'm a bit of a dinosaur in the social media world. So I've been around when, it's not like so old now. Not so old, okay? I've been around when content like that will never work. It needs to be curated, professionally shot, actually produced. But today, you can take out a phone and film something and it can go viral in 24 hours.
I think they like it better too.
They like it better,
better,
right?
Yeah.
So I went through that transition and I was like, oh my god, how am I going to work my content now? At one point, you guys know all the curated stuff, but now, as raw as possible, like with just phone, I can curate a content that can be so impactful. So just know that there's no right formula, there's no right or wrong. You will have to trial and error yourself and see what your audience likes. So like you said, you can consistently put out stuff that people don't even resonate with and you will not grow. So if you notice a stunt in growth, that actually says something for you. Something is not working. Try something else. Keep trying until you find that piece of content that could have 5 times more than your usual view. Analyze it. I know it sounds very technical, but with Instagram Instagram also becoming more and more resourceful. Like it gives so many different insights today, which I didn't have that before. You can use those tools to really analyze your content, and that's what I learned. So I learned that people like me when I talk. I don't know why. So I started doing more talking content. This was one of them. And for me, my DNA is to be the voice I've never had. So the idea behind it is, you know, growing up, I never had anyone to talk to. I'm the oldest in my family. I grew up in a typical Asian family, a broken family, so I never really had that person to talk to. So I have found my space in this space that I want to be that voice I've never had. So it will translate through my content, and this content was one of them. So
when I saw the word cancer, my heart dropped.
hook. There you go, hook.
We're talking about this. This happened years ago. So I was going through my pap smear for the very first time because a friend was telling me that if I'm sexually active, I should get myself tested just to be safe. So without thinking too much, I did. When the results came back, it says that my cells were abnormal and that I had contracted HPV. HPV? What the hell is that? And all the doctor told me was that I don't have to worry, and I just have to come back in the next 3 to 6 months to monitor the cells again. That's it. So I went home, but my heart didn't feel right. I mean, abnormal cells can't be good news, right? So I went on Google, just as we all do, and when I saw the word cancer, my heart dropped. HPV basically stands for human papillomavirus, and it is a common infection that shows no symptom. And it is responsible for most, if not all, cases of genital wart and cervical cancer. I remember feeling so much panic and embarrassment because 1, I don't want to get cancer, and 2, I obviously got it because I had unprotected sex. So I never told anyone, not even my friends, because I didn't know what they would think of me. But what I didn't know was that not all types of HPV are linked to cancer, and most of the time it can go away on its own. And that's why getting yourself tested and vaccinated is so important. So ever since my HPV scare, I get myself checked every year, and I'm happy to report that I no longer have HPV. The strand that I got was a low-risk HPV, thank God, and it went away after 2 years. So, if you're sexually active or have multiple partners, this is your sign to consider getting yourself tested and vaccinated. And there's nothing to feel embarrassed about. The earlier you know, the better. No shame, okay?
So cringe. I can't watch my content with so many. Okay, so remember what Sushi said about the hook? I brought a part of my content forward, the part that I think will be the best hook, the cancer part. Of course, my goal for this was branching out from the voice I never had. I never had anyone telling me what the hell HPV is. No one telling me what are the consequences if I were to be sexually active, if I were to have sex, what's going to happen. I mean, let's be honest, we are going to have sex at some point in our lives. Might as well just own it. Nothing to be embarrassed about, right? So sex education was not even a thing. Is it still a thing? Is it a thing now?
No.
Yeah, okay,
it's not.
sure. See, not even now. So like we're not really learning about things that we're supposed to, that things that will happen to us. So I thought this would be a great educational piece. So for me, my content, of course, this one is shot a little bit more professionally because it's also a paid content. So when you're being paid for content, you have to give value back to whoever that's paying you, right? I mean, it is a win-win situation. It is an exchange. So if they give you monetary remuneration, you have to give them back the value that they're looking for. So I didn't know what to expect when I put this out. I thought, oh my god, it's so much of me talking, people's not going to watch it. But I made sure the cuts that you mentioned is short, is choppy, so that people's attention span won't be diverted so easily. And I make sure the words that I say is concise. My years in radio helped me because in radio I had to speak really fast and I have to concise my points within 30 seconds to a minute. And this video was about a minute and a half with so much information jam-packed into it. I had to make sure that it's also not overwhelming, but at the end of it, you learn something and you will have a call to action for yourself. After watching it, I wanted people to like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna get myself checked without me actually saying much, just by sharing my story. So yeah, I think if you want to be a content creator, there will be a lot of times where you'll be given a brief by a brand and they will tell you, I think that's the exercise after this or something, right? They will tell you there will be USP. So the USP for this one is to get people tested and vaccinated. But if I were to go into the brief by just telling you, hey guys, go get tested, vaccinated, okay? You know, what because you get HPV. So they don't understand the impact and
yeah.
importance of HPV. So I needed to convey the importance of it so that I can get you guys to feel what I want you to feel. So like you said, strategy is also important. It's really not just filming yourself and talking. There is a strategy behind it, no matter what format. It could be just using your phone, recording it. It could be actually filming it with your team. Yeah, so for me, this process was me coming up with an idea, writing out my script, get approval, and then I shoot, and then, yeah, it's a long process. So yeah, I'm quite glad. I'm quite proud of these piece actually. Yeah, so, okay, so
Alright, thank you both for sharing. So now just pulling up what's next. This is
oh
like
my god, my face, man.
a compilation of all of this. I think I'm wondering if we can close out by saying, if we were to say, what would you say is the main thing to remember when sticking true to what matters to us as content creators? What is one thing we need to remember when we want to put ourselves out there? Let's try 2 sentences.
2 sentences. I have 2 words.
4. Wow, look at that.
No, 3, sorry.
I'll sell and negotiate. Okay, go ahead.
Trust the process. Honestly, I don't have a lot of followers. I think I don't compared to a lot of my peers, but I do trust that my content leaves an impact that a lot of people can't have. Like a lot of people, yeah. So I just trust the process and trust that it will lead me to exactly where I want to be and where I should be. So trust the process. The mistake, the low views, trust is telling you something. I mean, there's nothing you can do. The view is low, okay? Learn from it. Okay, why is it low? Is it because I talk too much? Is it because my edit is not choppy enough? Is it because it's not relevant to my community? Go to your insights. Look at who's following you. Majority men, majority women, you kind of know. Because if you, for example, if majority of your followers are 80% men, and you're going to talk about skincare, of course your skincare post is not going to do well. Let's be honest. And if you talk about football, the majority of your content followers are 80% women, it's not gonna, you're not attracting the right people, am I right? So don't underestimate data. Statistics are very, very important. As much as you're just creating content, don't do it blindly. I think in today's world, there is so much you guys can have access to. All these insights are so helpful. In fact, if anything, if you follow creators on Instagram, that page creators, it always tells you like what's the latest feature that you can go on, you can try, so you can bank on the latest algorithm, right? Before this, at one point, Reels wasn't even a thing, but within a year, it blew up because they did tell you to start doing Reels, that's what we'll be pushing. So use this information and use it wisely. I think that would be very, very beneficial to you.
So before we go to Suchi, just want to recap that. So trust the process, but be informed about the process.
Sorry, I went way more than 3 words.
It's very smooth.
The title was 3 words.
The title is 3 words. But yeah, so trust the process, be informed,
Yeah.
and try it out, be strategic with what you're doing.
Don't be afraid to fail, honestly.
Right.
Nothing embarrassed about it. People will forget. The attention span so short. No, really, right? Very true. But Shiki's content is not down the field. Nobody's gonna look at it. Yeah.
Sushi, tell us for yourself.
2 sentences.
You can choose
So
to.
I'm just like,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
just rolling.
Still an option.
Okay.
Still an option.
I think the first one is like what we're talking about today, just be yourself. Like make sure that your content is something that you love, and not something that you're doing just because you think it will go viral. Number 1. Number 2, on the flip side though, be very strategic. If you really want to make it to your career, you have to be strategic. And how can you do so? Algorithm, reading the data. There are a lot of pages that I follow that teaches me how to analyze the data. For example, like normally when you see like the graph like this, right? Sometimes I measure like the degree of my graph. Like, yeah, if it drops more, that means like lesser people are watching, right? And even like at the end of my video, I don't want it to end like this. That means my ending is not good enough. And so I really look into the details of the data. If you really want to make it to your career, be serious, be consistent, work hard on it, and don't be afraid to let people criticize your content. Yeah. If your best friends tell you that your content is a bit boring, right? Don't be like offended and like, because people who mean well. So check how can you make it better.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have friends that I go to that I show my content to first and ask them, what do you think? And their feedback, usually I take it quite seriously. And my friends say, am I supposed to laugh? Okay, then I know. Then I know it's not working. I gotta go back and edit again. If they say, oh my god, yeah, hey, what's HPV? I didn't know you guys. So I got the reaction that I already want. So find a group of friends that you can, I call them the corridor friends, corridor check. Yeah, my corridor friends. Yeah. Hey, need a check. Yeah, I think that's so important.
Nice. Okay, with that, let me just double check if we have anything surprising. This is a surprising thing. But ladies and gentlemen, can we please give Qiwiie and Maggy a big round of applause? So what we're here today because we are actually going to do a little bit of content ourselves.